right? And when you see, there's no artist, let me be clear, there's no artist in this industry that's doing major numbers with these platforms that haven't sold their soul.
Whoever talks about best of both worlds, nobody talks about that.
Nobody talks about this shit.
Nobody talks about that project.
That swept that smooth under the rug.
Why?
What if everything you believed about one of the most celebrated rap careers ever built was actually constructed on a mountain of borrowed flows, lifted cadences, and subliminal jabs so slick they flew under the radar for decades? The whispers have always been there, murmured by veteran producers and rival crews. But the full story has never been assembled in one place until now. We dug through decades of interviews, pulled apart iconic verses, and uncovered a pattern so bold it threatens to rewrite hip-hop history. And the most explosive clues come from the one man who watched it all unfold from inside the Rockefeller machine. Cam'ron himself.
People would always look at Jay-Z like, yo, you know, his words like, yo, your words can't reach God. I'm too high in the sky to hear what is it saying. Must have came down because you're paying attention to what is it saying, you know what I'm saying? But what I will say is this.
On his own show, Killer Cam finally started connecting dots that the rest of us completely missed. A hidden diss tucked inside a Watch the Throne anthem that nobody caught for over a decade. A phone message after a peacemaking concert that left him more puzzled than ever. A lawsuit that was never really about money. And a falling out with Dame Dash that Cam flat out calls one big setup. Each of these moments sounds like ordinary gossip on its own. But line them up, and they form a blueprint of control that stretches from the recording booth all the way to the boardroom. This is not just about who wrote what bar. It's about a system designed to keep you guessing while the truth gets buried. Stay right there, because the real story starts now. Here's where the narrative gets sticky, because the person who might hold the most damaging information also happens to be the one fans have spent years dismissing as just another loudmouth from Harlem. Cam'ron has never been the type to deliver his testimony in a neat package. He jokes, he rambles, and he pivots to selling intimacy gummies in the middle of a serious recollection. But if you actually track every loose thread he has dropped on his show since its launch, something chilling comes into focus. He is not just telling random war stories. He is laying out a manual on how a certain billionaire music mogul operates, and most of the audience is too distracted by the laughter to notice. The core accusation that has followed Jay-Z for his entire career is straightforward: that the pen game the world fell in love with was never truly his own. That the style, the delivery, and the very architecture of his bars were assembled from pieces of other artists who came before him. That charge is old. What is brand new is the supporting testimony now pouring out of the one camp that was once his own family. Let's rewind to a moment that, on the surface, felt like a victory lap for unity. Back in 2019, Jay-Z brought Cam'ron out at the B-Sides 2 concert in New York City, and the footage looked like closure. Two men who had traded some of the nastiest diss records of the 2000s were finally sharing a stage again. Cam described it as a beautiful thing and the kind of moment that makes fans believe in growth and reconciliation. But what happened after the house lights went down is where this investigation actually begins. According to Cam, Jay-Z reached out with a text message that still does not sit right with him to this day. The message essentially said that the night was dope and then added a line about how much they could accomplish when people stopped pretending there was fake friction out there. That word, fake, landed like a slap. Cam admitted on air that he did not even know how to process it. Why would you squash years of tension only to turn around and imply that the entire beef was some kind of performance? Either you acknowledge that real damage was done, or you subtly rewrite history to make the other person look like they were playing make-believe the whole time. That text message is a key that unlocks a much larger strategy.
It's too much compact into it. Pause. It's like, he tried to just like 10 and 35, 40, 36, 40 bars, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of that shit, like you said, goes over your head.
Because if you can convince the public that every conflict is fabricated, you never have to answer for what actually caused it. The Otis mystery fits this pattern perfectly. For over 10 years, nobody caught the alleged subliminal on the Watch the Throne lead single. The song is a joyous, soul-sampling celebration that people play at barbecues. But Cameron recently walked his co-hosts through the third verse and pointed to a sequence that is either an incredible coincidence or a masterclass in hidden disrespect. Jay-Z raps about fleeing in a private jet, uses the word asylum in a way that doubles as both a political term and the name of the very record label Cam was distributed through at the time, and caps it off with a direct reference to protecting Yeezy from anyone who runs up the wrong way. Cam recalls that his crew had made some kind of remark about Yee just a month or two before the song dropped. The timeline lines up. The specific vocabulary lines up. Even Cam, with his trademark smirk, stops short of calling it a coincidence. He cannot prove it, he admits. But that is the whole point of a subliminal. It is designed to exist in a space where only the target feels the sting while everyone else just bops their head. Now zoom out and look at how this pattern touches nearly every relationship in that orbit. The dynamic with Dame Dash is perhaps the most tragic example because it starts with three men who built a cultural institution together and ends with dental jokes and accusations of setups. Cameron told his audience that his falling out with Dame Dash felt engineered from the start. He points to an encounter with 50 Cent at a conference, a completely harmless moment where a hand touched a hip as a greeting. By the time the story reached the blogs through Dash's retelling, it had transformed into something far more humiliating, the kind of rumor that sparks endless internet mockery. Cam watched his own gesture of peace get weaponized, and he is now convinced that the entire feud was a product of that distortion. Even more revealing is what happened when Cam decided to bury his issues with Jay-Z. He naturally assumed that Dame Dash, who had publicly apologized to Jay-Z earlier that same year, would celebrate the moment. Instead, Dash ridiculed the reunion, coining a dismissive nickname for the two of them and turning what should have been a healing moment into a punchline. When Cameron and Maze later tried to help Dash out of a legal and financial hole by offering to buy his stake in Rockefeller, the deal mysteriously collapsed. And by the time Dash circled back weeks later, the offer was no longer valid.
Intelligent person, when do you start questioning how lucky some fuckers keep getting?
Right.
The point here is not to pick sides in a messy divorce between old friends. The point is to show that whenever someone attempts to step outside the narrative they have been assigned, the machinery of chaos immediately activates. The J. Cole lawsuit is the most transparent version of this entire saga because it is the one instance where everyone involved eventually admitted the game. Cam sued J. Cole over a track called Ready 24, claiming he was never paid and was promised a podcast appearance that never materialized. For months, the headlines made it seem like a bitter financial dispute. Then J. Cole showed up on Cam's show, and the two of them laughed about the whole thing. Cam flat out said the lawsuit was never going anywhere and that he only filed it to get Cole's attention. Cole admitted his ego was bruised at first, but once he thought about it, he understood exactly why Cam had to do it that way. In other words, the legal system was used as a scheduling tool. That is not normal behavior. That is the kind of maneuver you learn after years of watching power players use institutions to force the conversations they want on their own terms. The reverberations of this training are even splitting Cam's own crew. Jim Jones has been publicly challenging Cameron to a Vazoo's battle, arguing that Dipset's showing against the Lox a few years back was a disaster that needs to be avenged. But the subtext is far deeper than competitive spirit. Jones is essentially saying that the group's legacy is fractured, that the blame for that humiliation sits on Cam's shoulders, and that only a head-to-head clash can settle who really carried the weight. Cam has not responded, and that silence is deafening. For a man who built his brand on never backing down, the refusal to engage suggests a weariness with the very concept of public conflict. You can almost hear the unspoken question: why should I step into another ring when every previous one was rigged by forces outside my control? The Cash Money versus No Limit Vazoos that Cam attended only reinforced his cynicism. He noted that half the crowd did not even grasp the historical significance of what they were witnessing, that the location was wrong, and that key figures were either absent or unavailable for reasons far removed from music. The celebration felt hollow, another example of culture being repackaged into content. And yet, through all of this, Cameron has drawn a line that even the most chaotic figures in the industry cannot cross without earning his disgust. When Ye went on his latest tirade and started mentioning Jay-Z's children and wife, Cam's response was immediate and unflinching. He called it desperate and out of bounds, and he said it with the clarity of someone who has seen a lot of messy behavior but still believes some doors should remain closed. That moral boundary is fascinating because it suggests that, for all the accusations of manipulation and mind games, there is still a code, and violating it exposes who is truly lost. Cam also pointed out that Ye has been playing with the perception of instability for years, turning it on when convenient, and that the public finally seems to be catching on to the performance.
I agree with Sid. Because I think it was too much compacted. What?
Shit is real.
It's very rare, but I do agree with you. I think
All of this brings us back to the central question that the loudest voices in the debate have been circling for decades. Was the pen ever really his? Or did the empire get built on a foundation of borrowed genius that the original creators were never fully credited for? The trail of evidence is long and winding. You have the vocal cadences that echo the Notorious B.I.G. so closely that even casual listeners noticed the resemblance when the records first dropped. You have flows that seem to trace a straight line back to Slick Rick and Rakim, lyrical structures that mirror the sharpest ghosts of the golden era. You have the testimony of people like Cameron, who say, without saying, that the writing credits they have seen do not match the stories they were told in the studio. And then you have the most damning piece of all. The way every single person who questions this narrative eventually gets framed as bitter, broke, or delusional. The pattern repeats so often that it becomes a signature. A former associate raises a concern. Suddenly, that person is difficult. Or they were never really loyal. Or their own career struggles somehow disqualify them from having a valid memory. The public, hungry for clean stories with clear heroes and villains, swallows the framing every time. Meanwhile, the original question about who actually created the art gets buried under a mountain of personality politics. Cameron, to his credit, has refused to play the role of the bitter ex-labelmate, even though the script was written for him long ago. He praises the business acumen. He acknowledges the doors that were opened for him. But he also keeps telling little stories that do not add up to the official version. And he trusts his audience to do the math.
that I can think of, unless you can tell me. Maybe I'm just not thinking about that. I'm talking about that they do this full time. When last time you heard Jadakiss do a song? He don't give a fuck. He do it when he wants, because he know when he come out, it's gonna be special. He know that. You know what I'm saying? So
Consider the curious case of the freestyle that sparked this entire recent firestorm. A certain television appearance featured a verse that was widely panned and mocked across social media as uninspired, clunky, and flat. Defenders rushed to explain that it was off the dome, that freestyles are not meant to be polished, and that the criticism was coming from people who simply do not understand the culture. But the pushback from Cameron's corner was different. He did not just call the verse weak. He listed the names of artists he considered superior lyricists. And that list was a who's who of New York hip-hop royalty. From Ghostface Killah to Mos Def to Big Pun, the implication was clear. Stop telling me I have to respect this particular body of work just because of the zip code it comes from. There is a vast catalogue of genuine greatness, and it deserves to be celebrated without anyone demanding a loyalty pledge to one figure. That conversation about regional pride is a smokescreen that has protected the legend for decades. Accuse the architecture of being unoriginal, and the response comes back that you must be a hater from outside the borough who never understood the movement. Cameron, who bleeds Harlem, dismantled that defense simply by existing. He is proof that you can love the city, respect the history, and still call out what you see. He even addressed it directly on his show, asking whether preferring Q-Tip or KRS-One over the mogul in question somehow revokes your hip-hop card. The silence that followed from the gatekeepers was telling.
that I can think of, unless you can tell me. Maybe I'm just not thinking about that. I'm talking about that they do this full time. When last time you heard Jadakiss do a song? He don't give a fuck. He do it when he wants, because he know when he come out, it's gonna be special. He know that. You know what I'm saying? So
What makes the current moment so volatile is that the tools of control are not working as smoothly as they once did. Independent platforms like Cam's show allow stories to be told without the filter of traditional media gatekeepers who might have buried them in the past. A podcast clip of Cameron casually recalling a weird text message travels further and hits harder than any carefully crafted press release. A joke about dental adhesive suddenly becomes a metaphor for how even the most basic truths get held together with flimsy excuses. The audience is smarter now, more willing to connect the dots, and increasingly skeptical of the old trick where every critic gets dismissed as a clout chaser. The lawsuit saga with J. Cole added another dimension to this awakening because it exposed how even the youngest generation of stars has absorbed the lessons of the old guard. Cole and Cam's public reconciliation was a masterclass in controlled narrative resolution. They sat down, they laughed, and they explained that the entire legal battle was essentially a misunderstanding turned into a publicity tactic. Everyone went home feeling like they had witnessed authentic conflict resolution. But step back and ask yourself what actually got resolved. The song in question, Ready 24, was released without Cam's final approval. According to his original complaint, the promises that were allegedly made about cross-promotion and podcast appearances went unfulfilled until a lawsuit forced the issue. The settlement terms remain undisclosed, which means the public will never know whether Cam was compensated fairly or simply agreed to drop the case in exchange for the very attention he had been seeking all along. The system worked exactly as designed. A private arrangement was made. The public saw a feel-good clip, and the underlying question of whether artists at Cam's level routinely get strong-armed out of their leverage was left unanswered. This brings us to the deepest layer of the investigation. Maybe the most valuable thing that was ever taken was not a rhyme or a melody, but the ability of people to trust one another. Look at the trail of fractured bonds. Jay-Z and Dame Dash went from building a dynasty to not speaking. Cameron and Dame Dash went from collaborators to combatants over a distortion of a friendly moment at a conference. Jim Jones and Cameron are now publicly daring each other to battle while fans pick sides, and the legacy of Dipset gets reduced to a boxing match spectacle. Even Ye, who once stood shoulder to shoulder with Jay-Z on stages around the world, is now firing shots so reckless they involve children. Is it possible that one person masterminded all of this destruction? Of course not. But is it possible that a system of operating, a specific set of habits around loyalty, truth, and public image, creates conditions where authentic relationships cannot survive? Absolutely.
Now I would want, why?
Just to talk to or answer face to face.
One answer.
Cameron may never come out and say the thing that the most extreme corners of the internet want him to say. He is too savvy for that and too comfortable in his own lane to risk everything for a viral moment. But he does not need to. The evidence he has provided, piece by piece on his own platform, already paints a picture that is far more incriminating than any single diss track could ever be. The hidden disses. The gaslighting text messages. The manipulated beefs. The lawsuits that turn into podcast content. The friends who become enemies over incidents that did not even happen the way the public was told. It is all there, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone to assemble the puzzle. The industry will keep moving. The hits will keep playing. The empire will keep acquiring assets and rewriting its own history. But the cracks are visible now. And every new episode of a certain talk show from Harlem has the potential to add another fracture. The question is no longer whether the legend contains fabrications. The question is whether the audience actually wants to know, or whether the comfort of the myth is too precious to risk. So we leave it to you. Do you believe Cameron is just a jokester with a microphone? Or is he the last honest narrator of an era the industry would rather you forget? Is the greatest trick ever pulled not about stolen lyrics at all, but about convincing everyone that the whole thing was just entertainment? Drop your thoughts on the situation in the comments, and let us know if you caught any other hidden messages we might have missed. The conversation is only getting started.